Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the University of Padua and the Department of General Psychology and the organizers of this event, the Joint Teacher-Student Committee of the School of Psychology, I proudly welcome you to our 9th Psychodebate. So, my name is Jenny Grigoropoulou and I will be acting as moderator for today's debate with the assistance of Mariana Raguz for the visuals. So this event is another debate added to the series of the debates project that started almost 6 years ago. And the project has been steadily growing into an impeccable didactic activity where students and teachers alike have the opportunity and space to work together, practicing their argumentation skills and have the space to create interesting discussions on topics that concern us all. Naturally, the aim of these events is to expand our knowledge and to remind us that the right way to progressing together is through exchanging opinions and learning how to also listen. So I believe there could be no better time in the world than right now to try to promote and support the freedom of speech, the right to expression, and the benefits of conversing. But let us hear a greeting from the core and the soul of this didactic activity. I would please like your warmest welcome for the head of the debates project, Professor 𝐞𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Welcome to you all. Actually, yes, I was there when this project was born many years ago. And I may be part of it, but I'm also here to bring you the greetings from the head of the School of Psychology, Professor Lorella Lotto, who could not be here and she apologizes. And on behalf of the School of Psychology, who's actually the host of this event, I'd like first of all to say that we're very proud to host the third event of the series, within the series of Psychodebates, that tackles key questions about teaching. Just a bit of history. In 2020, we debated whether online versus in-person learning was better. In 2023, we asked whether exams really work. And today, we turn to another timely question, one we could not have anticipated just a few years ago. So we strongly believe these issues must be brought to discussion from the whole community, not just professors, but professors and students. And this is exactly what's happening today. That's why I'm thanking the student faculty committee and Professor Grassi, who's also one of today's speakers, by the way, for first proposing and then proposing the motion and organizing this event. I'd also like to thank Jenny, our expert moderator. She is a former student from our school and she came straight from Dublin only to guide us wisely through the different steps in the debate and discussion. Special acknowledgement goes to the Department of General Psychology for providing technical expertise and resources to make live streaming possible, and also for supporting communication of the event through the official channels and the socials. I just took the liberty to direct a final thank to our international student community. Their ideas, energy and contributions have helped shape this and many other initiatives. So dear international students, I'm talking to you. Let me tell you, your presence here is an essential part of who we are as a school and also the main reason why these debates were created and why these debates could not take place without you, your support. About today's motion, there may not be one single right or wrong answer, but there are important arguments that we can explore. And as Karl Popper once said, the growth of knowledge depends entirely upon disagreement. The best thing you can do in this case is not to raise your voice, but to refine your arguments. So I hope this debate will challenge you, engage you, and encourage you to support the speakers and the organizers. Enjoy it.
In the age of AI, essays and theses are a pointless ritual. Are they? Our motion today touches on the subject of the existence of artificial intelligence and how our academic practices should perhaps be reconsidered. We would like to know what you also think first, right now, also people online, before we hear any of the arguments. So how about a little poll? Maybe Mariana, yes. So you can find the QR code on your brochures. You can see it right here. You can scan it. But if you don't have this option, you can also go directly on 𝐽𝐶lub.com, and then you will see a search box, and then you will be asked to insert a passcode, which is Age of AI in one word. So this is the code, Age of AI, and you will be given 3 options to choose from. So the proposition shall pose their ideas in favor of academic changes according to the new reality along the existence of artificial intelligence, and the opposition shall try to deny the necessity of those claims and justify their stance on keeping our academic procedures as they are and as we have known it so far. So let's go back to see how many people we have already in the polls, and then I will walk you through the format. Okay. All right, let's see the results. Let's see what's the first picture right here. Yeah, no, but it's okay. All right. So in the age of AI, essays and theses are not a pointless ritual according to what people think right now. But let's see how that may be shifted. All right, we can go back. You can just end this, yeah, make sure it's not. Right, we can go back to the slides. All right, so as the teams get ready, do get ready, everyone. So allow me to share a few words on the format. So the debates organized through this project have started having a format that goes beyond the predominant debating style. So this means that while we have kept the main exchange of the teams when each team delivers their arguments while the speakers of each side take separate turns, we have also added another very interesting way of confrontation known as the Socratic dialogue. So this is a little closer, it's also a part of the Paduan style of debating and allows the speakers to have a more, let's say, direct, real-time confrontation. So if the teams are ready, nod. Everybody ready? All right. We shall now begin. We will have I will explain more about the Socratic dialogues once we get to that stage. So the debate also will end with the rebuttals, which is the last chance for the teams to make their last remarks. And then you do hold your thoughts and prepare to share them as well, because we will be taking comments and questions from the audience as well before the rebuttals. So let us begin. We will have 3 speakers for each team. 3 minutes each. I'm saying this to everyone that you will be notified also for your time when it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds in. So when you hear the first, it means that you have to wrap up. And then when you hear the second one, it means that you have to leave the space for the next. All right, so opening the arguments for the proposition, please welcome to the stand Sania Mohammed-Din.
Good evening or afternoon, everyone. I'm Sania, and today we, the proposition, will defend the motion that essays and theses are pointless rituals in the age of AI. Before I start, I should tell you that there have been parts, or they might not have been parts, of this speech done by AI. And if you can spot them, let me know, and you have to listen carefully for that. In order to get to the root of the question, we must ask ourselves, what is the point of an essay or a thesis? And to answer these questions, we should define these terms. As we know, a thesis is a long written document that compiles and presents the information of a student that has gathered with their research. The grade that is obtained with a thesis can make or break the student's career, influencing whether graduation, scholarships, and the next career step happens. The staggering amount of graduates experiencing burnout is associated with the stress that theses impose. An essay is a piece of writing, usually prose, that is a medium for expressing the author's thoughts. The definition is vague, but in this debate, essays are being discussed in the same context as theses. So we will focus on graded essays for school and university, meaning a piece of writing used to evaluate a student's learning progress. The grade obtained from an essay does contribute to a student's grade average, which in turn may decide the next step of their career, whether they will be a neuroscientist or an HR employee. Since the grades given for the essays and theses can dictate the course of a student's life, they are practically begging to be cheated on. Humans have always aimed to produce the most efficient results using the least amount of time and resources. This is exactly what AI provides in the case of written essays and theses, which usually requires a higher level of processing and critical analysis of content before you arrive at the results. Before generative AI broke into our lives, cheating on an essay was harder than writing it. One would have to look up a perfect essay, twist and replace the word so that the teachers wouldn't recognize it, all while preserving the integrity of the logic. Alternatively, one could pay someone else to write it, bearing the risk of that person telling the authorities. In the age of generative AI, however, students can have a fully written essay with AI humanizers, including typos for authenticity, with a simple prompt. In an age of marketing and priming to use AI content, with its ease and of access and different choices, generative AI, like Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and whatnot, it is no surprise that we are at a standstill, unable to determine who is using AI and to what extent. According to the 2025 survey by HEPI, the proportion of the undergraduate students using generative AI tools like ChatGPT for assignments has jumped from 53% to 88%. The credibility and originality of the so-called written content produced by the students and researchers are at stake. For a short while, just to wrap up, there was a significant risk of detection, but as of today, AI checkers have become largely unreliable. In conclusion, I would like to say, were you able to figure out which part of my speech were written by AI? No. The point stands. Thank you.
Now, opening for the opposition, please welcome to the stand Ioana Alina Cristea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are here to debate today if writing still makes sense in an era where AI is prevalent. And the proposition so far has told us a very simple reasoning, which is essays are important, theses are important to graduate, AI makes cheating easy, we want him to cheat before anyway, so then what is the point of the essays? To this we would first ask, what is the point of a graduate? Why are we even graduated if it's just to have a diploma? Moving forward, we also don't understand what is the proposition asking to put in the place of the AI. Other things that can be cheated on, or it just assumes that only essays will be amenable to cheating. For us in the opposition, we are not naive, ladies and gentlemen, we are not blindfolding, we are not trying to stay here and stand that there is no AI, the students are not pervasively using AI, that in the future we will have tools to detect AI. That's not what we're saying. We are here to talk about the role of writing. And the opposition has two important premises. The first one is the false equivalent, that because something is widespread, because there's AI use, then we should get rid of writing. And I ask you, if in the future, at some point, we would discover that for the medical residency exam that everyone takes before actually touching patients, right? Everybody has discovered the method to cheat. Would we give up on this exam? Would we say, you can be doctors without this exam anyway, because anyway everybody cheats? The second premise for the opposition is that we don't have to require and evaluate writing in exactly the same way as we did pre-AI. An intelligent system adapts, ladies and gentlemen, and the university can adapt to writing that is produced by AI. In fact, this system is dynamic. Every day we are learning more about AI style, about AI content, about the fact that, for example, some citations are not checked, and this allows us to have what the opposition calls an a writing plus system. In this system, lecturers can ask for the written piece and then can also accompany it, for example, with a detailed oral evaluation. We have ways to respond. Why would this be important? Well, because students would then have to practice other competencies. They might not create the argument themselves, but they sure as hell would have to defend the argument themselves because there will be no ChatGPT with you in the room with the lecturer. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to spend a few words on the word ritual. Indeed, writing is a ritual. From the dawn of time in academia we have written. And the rituals, scholars have shown, have other functions except just the mechanism that they are supposed to address. Rituals increase social cohesion. Rituals make you feel part of a group. And if we take out this central piece, the writing, what is left from the identity of a student and what is left from the identity of the academia? For these reasons, we oppose. Thank you.
Moving on to the next arguments of the proposition, please welcome Enrico Tofalini.
As a professor, I do believe that students must learn to write, and they must learn to write well, because if you cannot write well, you cannot master AI writing. You cannot recognize a weak argument hidden inside elegant prose. You cannot see when a paragraph sounds intelligent but says nothing. So yes, writing is a real skill, a fundamental skill. But then let's teach it in class. Let's assess it in person, like we assess statistics, methodology, or psychological theories. But we should not pretend that today writing can be fairly assessed through a long final document that is produced at home where the boundary between student, supervisor, software, and AI is impossible to track. Would you test a student knowledge of psychology by asking them to summarize theories at home and submit a document? Of course not. You require an exam, a presentation, a directly supervised task. So why should the final dissertation still be a long academic-looking text? Writing should remain in the curriculum, but it should not remain the core of the final examination as a thesis that is tied to graduation prospects. The final examination should not ask, can the student produce something that looks academic? Today, with a few prompts, any student can generate the literature review, the draft, the revision, even the slides. The bar is too low. And when the bar is too low, you cannot recognize excellence. You get to ceiling. We should not only assume, but teach and encourage students' use of AI. According to Eurostat and the European Commission Italy Digital Decade Country Record, digital literacy and AI use in Italy is lagging behind most other Western countries, which is worrying. So we must train students to become competent users of AI and not pretend that AI is just a minor support. The problem is that we stick to old formats while the world has changed. I do not think that we need a final dissertation any longer, but if we keep it, then AI should be a prerequisite, not a shortcut. We could ask students to develop complex scientific projects, practical business ideas, or real psychological tools, anything with a real applied value. We should ask them to compare sources, analyze data, make decisions, document their use of AI, and defend their choices. So thesis, you may even reuse the name if you want, but know that the name thesis is the legacy of an older ritual, one that is now pointless. Okay, we can keep the ritual, but it is just a pointless ritual. We like them. So the point is not write less, the point is do more than writing. The thesis asks for pages. A new final examination should ask for mastery, judgment, and producing real value.
Moving on for the opposition, Viktor Bugarčić.
Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today to remind you what writing is. Is writing just typing words onto a paper? I wouldn't say so. It involves learning how to shape complex ideas and put them into a logical and accessible argument like we are doing here today. Therefore, writing is directly tied to thinking. So, it is a common misconception that we often write down our thoughts, but in reality, writing is the process by which we figure out what we are thinking. A famous author, Flannery O'Connell, put it that I write because sometimes I don't often know what I'm thinking until I read it. So, again, still you might say, what's the point of AI? We are now able to produce a 50-page report or a scientific literature review in under 30 seconds with the use of AI. But having that text is no longer a valuable asset. It is no longer a determination of competence. Because every student can now submit a perfect, polished essay, and it becomes the new zero. And that is exactly why we need to nurture developing creativity and critical thinking skills through writing. How do we practice without writing? So, to look at the pragmatic example about thesis. Thesis is a process. It consists of conducting experiments. It consists of carrying out investigations, gathering data, and analyzing it with the help of a mentor. It helps students develop analytical thinking, discipline, expertise, and it allows them to be adaptable in real time. Secondly, there's a thesis defense in which AI cannot replace. During the defense, students must present their work. They must explain their contribution to the field, demonstrate their genuine understanding of this topic. They're questioned by then specialists to challenge their arguments and to find their weaknesses. So the real challenge is not eliminating essays and theses, but ensuring that they evolve alongside the AI so that the education keeps cultivating unique human skills. Being able to write theses and essays now provides competitive advantage because it also promotes originality and novelty. An AI-saturated market puts complete dependence, complete dependence on AI lowers the worth of someone's work. Therefore, any marginal contribution would be exponentially more valuable, and in the age of AI, the only ones who can contribute something novel are the ones who are clear critical thinkers and creative thinkers. So I ask you this. We have a division of people who can write and who cannot write. We have a division of people who can think and who cannot think. If we don't use our creativity, we're left with nothing. Our value lies in the originality, which we can practice through writing. Our value lies in the imagination, which we practice through writing. So we become more competent, more creative. We cannot use AI and say, create new things. We cannot use AI and create novelty because it is trained on a database already existing. We cannot go beyond that. So I ask you in the end, food for thought. If we stop writing, if we create and cut creativity and critical thinking, what do we have left? Thank you.
For the closing arguments of the proposition, please welcome to the stand Anupama Pador Anil Kumar.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anupama. Sania has shown you that cheating is frictionless, with graded essays or theses no longer reliable measures of learning, while Professor Tofalini has proposed a redesign of traditional essays and theses. My role is to show you why this ritual has become pointless through two pieces of evidence. Firstly, Stanford researchers tested AI detectors on essays written by non-native English speakers. 61% of genuinely human essays were falsely labeled as AI generated. Think about what that means for international students. The very tools meant to protect academic integrity are misidentifying innocent students, while sophisticated AI outputs can evade detection. Even for students who do not use AI, we are forcing them to master a format that technology has already made obsolete. Major institutions including Vanderbilt, Yale, and Johns Hopkins have confirmed AI detection systems are largely unreliable. The ones that built the system know it does not work, so we face a paradox. Essays no longer prove authorship, and the systems meant to verify authorship do not work. Secondly, and perhaps most importantly, institutions themselves are admitting the problem. Last year, the Academic Senate of the University of Padua approved a policy stating that assessments must become AI robust. That phrase matters because you only redesign something to be robust against AI if you acknowledge that the current format is not. The opposition might say, but essays teach critical thinking. Critical thinking matters. We agree. But the question is not whether critical thinking matters. The question is whether a traditional essay or thesis is still a reliable way to develop and measure it. In a world where AI can generate structure, polished arguments, and text in seconds, education should evolve. Education should focus on what matters more. Solving problems, asking intelligent questions, collaborating, presenting, and applying knowledge in real time, not preserving a format designed for a pre-AI world. It is becoming a ritual of appearances, students producing text they may not fully own, professors grading work they cannot confidently verify, sometimes even using AI, so essentially it's a pointless cycle of AI to AI communication. Also, I would like to point that even in thesis today, oral defenses are used. Why do we have an additional mode of assessment if the written document, the thesis, is enough as the proposition claims? The essay and thesis are tools, and when a tool no longer reliably measures learning, no longer proves authorship, and no longer fits the reality it was designed for, it should be redesigned, not preserved as a pointless ritual. Thank you so much.
And finally, we're moving on to the closing arguments of the opposition. Please welcome Massimo Grassi.
Good evening. The proposition team says that in the age of AI, essays and theses are a pointless ritual. This motion depends on the assumption that progress is automatic and that tomorrow will be better than today, but history is actually telling us something different. AI depends on extremely fragile conditions, political stability, economic stability, and massive energy infrastructure. And none of these things are guaranteed forever. In peaceful times, it is easy to imagine AI that will be always there. But what happens during serious crises? In the event of war, cyber conflict, or political instability, AI infrastructure will become a strategic target. After the fall of the Roman Empire, roads deteriorated, aqueducts collapsed, and engineering knowledge stopped for centuries. People did not suddenly become less intelligent, but society lost systems, and with them, important skills. Human writing trains the mind. It teaches reasoning, structure, and argumentation. If we outsource this skill entirely to AI, we might gradually weaken the human capability to perform these tasks. Using AI as a tool is positive. Just as calculator improves mathematics, AI can improve research and productivity. But there is a difference between using a tool and surrendering a capability. As a society that forgets how to think without machines become fragile, because progress is never guaranteed. In February this year, after the attacks involving Iran and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, global supply chains were disrupted immediately. Our flights were cancelled, prices increased, and we suddenly realized how dependent our life is on distant infrastructures. AI depends on systems that are even more fragile and even more concentrated and even more energy intensive. So yes, use AI, work with it, but do not abandon the human skills underneath it. Because if one day those systems fail, disappear, or simply become unavailable, humanity will still need people capable of thinking, reasoning, arguing, and writing with their own minds.
Thank you both teams for delivering your main speeches. We will now go straight to the Socratic dialogues. We will move on to the head-to-head confrontations. So what happens now is that one speaker of each team will get to the podiums at the same time, and they will have 2 rounds of concurrent, simultaneous sharing of arguments. So in the first round, the proposition will be attacking the opposition's arguments, and the opposition shall only defend them. And then during the next round, they will have the opportunity to do the same while swapping roles during that. So each exchange shall last once again 3 minutes, and we will maintain the same process of notifying you about your time. Is that okay? All right, so for our first round, we have Aminata Auguste Eckert, who will be attacking on behalf of the proposition, while Elena Fortunata Mazzitelli will be defending the opposition's arguments. So whenever you're ready.
All right. Hi, everyone. I have noticed that a lot of your arguments hinge on us wanting to abolish essays and theses, which I want to make clear we do not want to abolish them. We propose that we should use different examination strategies that are less easy to be cheated on. It is obvious that everyone has always cheated, but what we are saying is that with AI, it has become incredibly easy to cheat. And all of us are constantly worried about our careers. I want to ask you, Professor, you have graduated, you were a student. Have you ever been tempted to cheat?
The point is not cheating or not cheating. The point is the process. Everyone has always been cheated in the history of humanity, but that was not the point. Even people who cheated but learned something from the cheating process, then the whole process had a value, because at the end of the day, the thesis has a psychological impact. As you said, a lot of students suffer from burnout and stress from writing a thesis, and that's part of the process. People have to learn to manage those emotions, because this is what real life is about. So,
but have you ever wanted to cheat?
It's important nowadays, because it's a simulation of life. There will always be times when we will be confronted with reality, and we will have to defend a thesis. So it's so much important to have to defend a thesis, AI or not.
You did not answer my question.
The point is not the cheating. The point is the process. That's why it's so much important to have still to have a thesis and essay, because it's not a pointless ritual. It's the process behind it, the way the person is able to handle, even with those tools. Still, why there is people not able to submit a thesis on time or an essay on time? Because people need to learn how to handle the tools. And that's why they are still useful and not a pointless ritual.
You did not answer my question.
The question was cheating or not.
No, the question was, have you personally ever been tempted to cheat?
Of course I've been tempted to cheat.
And you say that cheating has actually helped you learn in that process. If you were a student right now and you had AI to cheat, we know that using AI requires little to no actual processing. So if you were a student right now and attempted to cheat with AI, all those benefits of cheating where you still learn something would be void.
The thing is, the moment you have to defend a thesis, the point is what you have actually learned.
So the thesis is the important part, not the defense. Sorry, the defense is the important part, not the thesis itself.
They go all together, because the thesis has been is vehiculated by the defense. So the moment you submit a thesis, then you have to defend it. But what can you defend if you don't submit a thesis? So essays and theses are still relevant for the way the students have to approach those milestones.
Can I ask one last question?
Go ahead.
So You have proposed that we need to adapt theses and essays to the new age. So would you agree that as they are right now, essays and theses are kind of pointless?
No.
Then why do they need to be adapted?
Okay, so they're not pointless for the reason that I explained before, and of course progress.
No, as they are right now, not as a
Sorry?
concept. As they are right now.
They are not pointless, as I'm saying, because of course the progress of technology cannot be stopped, and we are not denying it. But still, people nowadays are late submitting their essays and theses. Why? Because they don't manage the process completely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, swapping roles, we will have Alberto Testolin, who will be attacking on behalf of the opposition, while Patrick Pluchino will be defending for the proposition. May I remind you that whomever is attacking, you shall get back into the conversation and guide it, and you shall also have 1 extra minute like the first round, okay?
Okay, good afternoon everybody. Professor Pluchino, let's continue on this argument of cheating. So you're basically proposing to remove thesis and essay just because the students can cheat. But they could cheat also by asking them to write it on their behalf, as it was 10 years ago. What happened with the AI? It's just becoming easier to cheat. So if something becomes easier to cheat, then we remove it from our set of tools that we can have students judge.
No, it's not the point of cheating, but it's the point of learning something. And so in the past, you can cheat asking someone else to write instead of you, while now you can ask a computer to write instead of you. So the role of, your role is not a learner in mastery, how to write, how to put critical thinking or argumentation to synthesize something, but it's just to supervise something.
But don't you think that we can teach and train students to be better users of AI and use critical thinking and AI as a support, not just to delegate and to cheat?
Yes, but in my opinion, the point of the thesis, that is the or essay, is not to use a tool to write, because you have to learn how to write by your own self, so not using a tool. And you have also to think about the importance of this type of rituals. So the idea is that we have to change the way in which we can use AI, but we cannot evaluate people on the base on which they use AI. So if I can pay more, I can have better AI tools compared to other people.
Yeah, but again,
and I can
think as university professors, our role will be to guide students to better use the tools that they have at their disposal, not to cheat. So they are higher education students, it's not primary school. So we are expecting them to be responsible and not just to want to cheat to get a degree. Or is this the way you judge your students?
No, the way in which I judge the student thesis or essay is the content of it and the way in which they write. So if I cannot understand, or I may suspect that they have used AI,
then we can discuss
I
with them
cannot.
during the defense of their thesis and we can investigate how much they understood.
But in 10 minutes, you cannot go through all the thesis.
2 questions are enough, I think, to discover a cheating.
No, because you can be lucky and you can get the 2 best questions and you can respond.
Deeply about the questions that you're going to ask to the student, and it cannot be, she or he cannot be lucky.
No, in my opinion, if you suggest to change something, you have to change completely the presentation. It will be like a debate or like a 1-hour presentation, and that will be something in which you will check also the learning and critical thinking and other aspects of learning. If it's just 10 minutes and you are a very good person in remembering things, then you can have something written by AI or another person, and then you can have a very bad, a very good performance during the presentation without having the value.
Let me ask another thing. Don't you think that writing an essay or a long document like a dissertation helps structuring your ideas and getting deeper knowledge about the subject. So isn't this a good exercise for a student to train your creativity, producing original ideas?
No, because if you use AI, the text will not be written by you. You will not go through.
You train students to not just use the AI blindly, but to use AI as a support. It can still be valuable to have theses and essays. They may enrich humanity and our knowledge.
No, because there are different studies that demonstrate that if you use AI for doing essay, for example, after a few minutes, you cannot recall or quote your own text. So there could be a kind of low level of intellectual activity reflected by EEG. And so it's something.
We are just hoping that the students can use the AI as a supporting tool, not as a replacement of the brain.
Yeah, but a supporting tool is not a tool that will create or can create your thesis or your essay by itself, and you can just give the essay to the instructors, in my opinion.
That's okay. Can you just turn it off? Yes, thank you. We all enjoyed this exchange. So we are now moving on to the best part. The debate has not yet finished. We still have to go through the rebuttals. But before we do that, we have a chance, and the teams will now have a chance, to hear what your thoughts and or your questions are, and maybe have the chance to address some of them during that last stage of the rebuttals. So I will pass this on. Someone maybe can help me by taking this. Let me switch. 1, 2, okay. So we can take this to the audience. The way we can do it is like this. So we can take maybe 1-minute interventions that could be addressed to the proposition and to the opposition. So let me see, by show of hands, if anybody would be interested in sharing a comment directed to the proposition. Comment or question. I know the first one always have to be brave. I am. But one, just to get the conversation started. Don't make me get to the audience and then start the first question. There is? Okay, over there. Thank you for kicking this off.
Well, can you hear me? No. While I speak? Okay. Hello, everyone? No, yet still not. Ah, yes, okay, perfect. So my question is actually to both of the teams, because I felt like while I was listening, you guys are both on the same page. This feels like you guys are actually agreeing on the discussion and trying to force, there's not even a question that, shall we just accept the fact that AI is a good tool to use for your writing, the writing that you do yourself. But AI is some tool that you ask, if you paraphrase this sentence, what do you think if this logic is together well? You can ask these questions, and it's just a tool, but not the writing tool itself. Can we just accept this, maybe?
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Anyone else who would like to comment on that? We have someone at the back. Thank you.
I would just like to comment on the comment by saying AI is so much more nowadays.
May I ask so much more in general, or
so much more than a supporting tool? Like, there are some AI programs which can do way more than rephrase your sentence, and that can create a complete written essay for you to submit without any requirement from you to actually write.
Thank you. We have someone over there at the back. I told you it's always easier after the first one.
So I think
both teams actually did agree on some aspects that like this, that
Just your voice.
yeah, that cheating is inevitable, that we should teach students how to use AI properly. But I think the question that we should be addressing, whether the essay and theses are something that we can evaluate fairly, because how fair we can be, again, as, for example, international students that are exposed to so much AI-generated content, and when you learn the language, when you study in the language that is not yours, and you're ultimately absorbing the structures, the language that is outside, and if the way you start actually sounding like that students that write their own essays are being flagged for AI, how fair is it for them to be evaluated on the basis of essay when they cannot be, well, rationally evaluated on those grounds? So it's not the question whether critical thinking is not important, that writing is not important. It's the question whether it is the right way to evaluate how students can write. Yes.
These are great points. Thank you. By all means, anyone in the audience, do share any points or argumentations that were not brought up. This will actually quite enrich the discussion. Do we have anyone else? We have someone there?
Well, I focus on the differences in the way that people are using AI compared with people are writing essays. Like, how do people use AI? We certainly ask, like ChatGPT or Gemini, can you help me write some email? And how do we write essays? Well, I think essays and theses are containers or the forms of people's logical thinking or logical organizations. And there's a different way when we are actually asking AI for help and when we are actually constructing our own thoughts. So considering these differences in our processes interacting with AI and organizing our thoughts, I think essays and these are not a pointless ritual.
Thank you very much. The teams can choose whether or not they want to address any of these comments or the questions. Anyone else who would like to?
Oh,
Intervals, yeah, intervals. Anyone else? Yes, all right, first over there, and then we'll get to you. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask something to the opposition, because during the first round, it was said that like writing thesis is important also to like deal with burnout and stressful situations, because life is all gonna be about that, and that just seems depressing. I don't know. I feel like it shouldn't supposed to be like that. So I don't know if we just have to accept that and be stressful in life forever, but I don't know.
Thank you. We also have someone over here.
Thank you very much. So first of all, I wanted to thank all the parties for sharing their information. But I wanted to mention, I mean, during the speeches, I noticed there are some certain words that are being used, like have to or we need to stop using AI. Personally, I think for universities or scientific institutions, it is a bit uncharacteristic to use this word because they are supposed to be at the edge of science. They need to be at the frontiers of innovation. So I think what is missing here is AI literacy. So definitely, me personally, the amount of creativity that has been created for me has been 10 times more with the use of an AI, because I'm not following psychology, I'm an engineer actually, studying engineering. I cannot even imagine how slower, how less productive I would have been without the use of an AI, okay? So I understand the hesitation because this fast pace of development of AI is something that we have never been in the human history, I guess. So we are dealing with this hardship to adapt. That is something actually very natural. But putting a stop to it or, I don't know, prohibiting to use it, I think it is maybe not the right approach for maybe universities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I really do hope that the teams will choose to bring some of these comments up because they are great points. And do we have anyone else who would like to share? Yes, we have someone over there.
Okay, I just have a question for the opposition because it was mentioned that writing a thesis and defending it is a very important creative process to get our thoughts in check. But I was wondering if this is important for every kind of career and at every level, because personally I am in a bachelor's right now, and the job that I can get with a bachelor's or a master's doesn't really have anything to do with research or writing papers. So is it really important for me to go through that creative process in any way, shape, or form to get this degree? That's kind of...
So the question would be whether the motion and the opinion behind the motion should be applied on any level of study. Is that the... All right, thank you. Anyone else? Before we move on to the rebuttals, one last chance, maybe? No? Okay. So, if the teams are ready, are they? Okay. So, this is our last phase. Thank you so much. So, this is our last phase. For the proposition, we will have Sania Muhammaddin, who will be delivering their team's final thoughts. Sorry, over here. And then for the opposition, we will have Ioanna Alina Cristea, who will be doing the same. So let's have you on the podiums again. Remember, you have 3 minutes, notified at 2:30. Proposition. Your time starts now.
Hi, everyone. So first of all, I would like to say that, hello, I think it's not working. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Okay. When you say that, we said that essays and theses are completely pointless, we mentioned that writing must sustain, but along with refined AI, as Professor mentioned, with to educate the students how to efficiently use AI and in a redefined way, and not just use it as a shortcut at home, because at the end of the day, we know the students are going to use AI at home, but we want them to do it if they cannot do it in class, in person, and like if you can, like it's so easy to just go home and formulate your essays and theses and write 10, 20, maybe 100 pages with AI. Maybe we can teach them how to do it proficiently and do it in front of the professors in a more proficient or eloquent way. So not as a shortcut at home where they're preparing speeches of 10 pages and not knowing the exact content of it. Secondly, I would like to say that, as you mentioned, that essays and theses, they treat them as pure practice without performance, actually. Pressure, we talk about them in academic context. We're not living in the dream, we're living in reality. So when we say that the essays and thesis is bringing the originality and the creativity, I would say we don't know how much, because as we mentioned previously, that even before, if you're writing an essay or a thesis without AI, you're still cheating with maybe a perfect essay where you're tweaking it or asking someone else to write it. So at the end of the day, it's a pointless ritual. I would also like to bring up an example of when before the calculator was introduced, it was not to show that the students don't have enough capability to be able to solving problems, but it's helping you to compute those mathematical problems. This is exactly what we're trying to say. Yes, essays and theses would be important, but with the aid of AI, it's going to help them compute better. And we can have more eloquent prompts to give them and to use an AI that can actually help them bring that creativity and have that context in it. Lastly, when you mentioned that essays and thesis particularly has the methodology and the professor is assessing those and everything, we never said it's not. We appreciate the experimental part of the thesis, and we really wanted to keep going because that's exactly where the students have the hands-on experience in the experimental, not in the writing part. The writing part is just the students sitting there and writing from AI, and we want that to be there. And when they're writing without AI, we would say that they're just matching the word count. They're just writing anything to be able to match the word count at the end of the day without the context. At the end, when you read the sentence or the essay that you're writing, it makes no sense. And that's why we're saying that we can just use AI to be able to have the critical evaluation in it, have that aspect, hence it's important. At the end, I would also like to say that that we are saying that essays and thesis is a reliable measure, which is not a reliable measure. Wait, sorry, one second. We are saying that the essays and thesis now should be redesigned. The system should be redesigned from the current format so that it is also good for students and to have it, to make it fair for them, because it's unfair because they cannot, some students cannot afford AI. That's it. Thank you.
Now for the opposition, Ioana Alina Cristea, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the debate before us is very simple today. It is not a debate about the use of AI. It is a debate about should long-form writing still survive as a part of academic evaluation and academic teaching. And to this, the proposition has tried to put us in a box we never asked for. They talked about AI detectors being unfair. We agree. We never said let's use AI detectors to spot those who use AI. Never said that. They said students will all cheat and cheating will get you a degree faster. We never said students will not use AI. They said we should be teaching other things. And for this, they should have demonstrated that these other things are in direct contradiction, negate the necessity of writing long form. And I ask you, if you take a fiction seminar where, as Professor Tofalini said, you learn how to do it and how to write, will you become Bulgakov at the end of this fiction seminar? Will you produce a great work of fiction? I don't think so. Writing is a skill, and a skill needs to be trained. On the opposition side, we disagree that we should be simply tracking developments. Like tech companies are now developing new AI tools. Great, academia will drop everything it was doing for the last millennia and start adopting AI tools. We believe we should first look what is essential in what we're doing. Is writing still essential? There was a question from the audience that said, should we still be writing? And to this, what is the point of writing? Right, if you don't want to do research. As we have said with our second speaker, writing teaches thinking. And we can make this happen even if you write with AI. Because as we said, we are not forced to adopt the same form of thesis evaluation that we did in 2014. We can have a more intense oral discussion, we can ask pointed questions, students can understand that you will be put in a situation to defend your arguments, whether or not you wrote it or AI wrote it. What is the point of writing? Well, the point of writing is that you are not doing academia just to get a degree and just to get a job. You are doing it to belong to a community. You are doing it to learn some skills that include, yes, critical thinking, which can be trained by writing, but it can also be trained by by answering questions, by engaging with the material that the wise AI has produced for you. It can be done in many ways. But I want to stress here that several of our arguments have remained completely unaddressed. We say the AI of today might not be the AI of tomorrow. Perhaps indeed the proposition themselves tell us that tomorrow tools are expensive, some people might not have access to it. Well, great. Let's give everyone the opportunity to practice writing. Finally, the main point here is, do students cheat? Yes, of course students cheat. Students have always cheated. Before, your mother could have written your thesis for you, right? It could probably happen, now AI can write it. What the proposition has to show us is that everyone will cheat, and no one will take the opportunity to produce writing text. And what we have told you is that Those who will, who knows, might be favored in the world of tomorrow when AI tools might be expensive, when AI tools will be inaccessible, such as this internet now in Iran, and when maybe the market will be saturated from reading over and over. I'll tell you what it meant. This is why it matters, and I'll tell you why. It's not this, it's that, or other type of AI style. Thank you from the opposition.
Thank you, both teams. And this was every team's last opportunity to win you over and get those votes. So shall we get everyone again on Wool Club once more and see what your reactions are only this time? This time, I want you to think of this. Irrespective of your stance, before or now, on today's motion, we would like you to vote for the best team according to their argument delivery. So instead of voting where your head's at with the motion, let us know which team you thought delivered the most convincing arguments. So have we enabled this? Again, you're scanning QR codes or you're going directly on woolclub.com. You insert the code 𝐻 in one word, and this shall take you to the new poll. May we see how many votes we've got in, both for people online as well. So, okay. So we have, as we see here, 70% thinking the opposition team delivered the most convincing arguments. We can give a round of applause to that, of course. And we have 23% for the proposition team. I think that, again, a round of applause before I make a comment. What I may say is that what we notice as differences in between the two polls, one is that the gap is not that big as it was before. And the second, I think most important detail that we see here is something that concerns all the previous debates. We don't have that many people this time that fall in this category, which means they're not unsure. So in previous debates, we had a lot more people who were not sure on which side they were, but it seems like whichever side you're on, they actually made it to convince you one way or another. So I think we can, yes, take this off the screen. Now, of course, once again, thank you all for being a part of this. You are the heart of the project and why everyone works so hard for it. And thank you for participating in the discussion and the voting sessions, also the people online. And before we go, I would like to briefly mention that it is important to keep in mind that this is an academic activity, which means that the speakers often have to practice and deliver their arguments that are not necessarily aligned with their personal beliefs. And for that, they deserve an extra round of applause. And you may have seen the faces of 5 people for each team today, but the list of names that had to work for this to be possible is really long. So everybody involved in the preparation of this event will also receive an open badge, which is a certification attesting the skills acquired through this activity. And let me go through the names real quick. We have our teams, the multimedia team, which makes the coverage and the broadcast of this event possible. So we extensively thank their director, Salvatore Frisina. Their coordinator, Carmelo Lichetta, who acted as coordinator. Of course, all the members, Emma Mariuti, Natalia Nikolic, Mina Stanoyilovic, Zoe Sara Pozzato, Maria Shapkova. Next, we, of course, had our digital content creative team who worked on all this and more that you don't see. We would like to thank their director, Daniela Dinora. Student Coordinator Etienne Beccarelli. All team members, Mia Cinziana Barbarosi, Luciane Sarahi Mogrovejo Zaldumbide, Baljan Kojakanova, and Julia Paul. And then, of course, we have our writers who support our speakers as well. Alexa Badea, Laiba Shahad Lahnika, Anjana Kodenkeri, Veronica Kaviki, Thomas Rigi, Emanuele Corvino, Elena Fortunata Mazzitelli, and Clara Paschino. Our logistics team, Sara Afshar, Emilia Dimieva, Alice Pozzoli. And lastly, our very special thanks to the Joint Teacher-Student Committee, Etienne Beccarelli, Carmelo Lichetta, Enrico Paci, Elia Truzzi, Massimo Grassi, Elena Faccio, Lorela Lotto, Eloisa Valenza. Personally grateful for the great assistance of Mariana Ragush. And of course, the academic referent and supervisor head of the project, Lucia Regolin. And of course, all of you for supporting us with your presence every time, so we can carry on with our discussion in the nice area.
And of course, Jenny Grigoropoulos.
And we shall carry on with our discussion in the nice area that we have reserved for us to share some drinks and further exchanges right out here. So see you all there and see you at the next debate. And if you want me, I can draft a PDF or make a PowerPoint slide. No, that was a joke. That was not AI, that was me.